Are you a landlord or thinking about becoming a landlord and you're just a little curious, what's the best date for me to put on my leases to collect rent? Is it going to be the 1st, the 5th, the 15th, or the 20th? Well, since I've been doing real estate since 2004, I've seen a lot of come and go, drafted up a ton of leases, and I have found out what's the best day of the month to collect rent for me. All right. And further, I'm going to show you a post. Some of the people that have replied to a post that I put out 2 days ago has got 40,000 views. I was explaining to my supporters and followers what day of the month I've figured out is best for me to collect rents. I want you to see this. You're going to be surprised at the comments and what people are saying about me collecting rent on this specific day of the month. You're going to be shocked. Let's do it. Happy New Year, Roundup family. It is my honor to serve you today as we passed 131,000 subscribers. Thank you for letting me serve you. It is my honor. I put in the work to be a good steward of your attention. So today, what is the best day to collect rent? It took me years and trainings to go through and networking, meeting with mentors, hiring people to figure out what's the best day of the month to collect rent for me. So I'm going to go over all the timelines and kind of get into the specifics of what it takes to get somebody out of your rental property, along with the timeline so you understand why we collect rent on this day of the month. But first, let me show you this. So I put this post out, a little short reel on Instagram the other day. 2 days ago to be exact. It got 40,000 views. I cannot believe this. You know me, I put out, my story is, let me put out to my community, to my people, to my supporters and followers, just what I do. I'm a practitioner of real estate. This is how I live, how I pay my bills. And you know what's ironic? I'll get to that in a minute. Let me save that for a minute. So let's pull up this post so you can see what I said here. I said, why our rents are never due on the first of the month. That's what I put for my post. Why our rents are never due on the first of the month. I'm getting nervous here just as I read these comments. Okay, so what I hope usually when I put out what I'm doing in the marketplace, I hope to inspire, motivate people that want to do what I do, because it's only 7% of the American population even own rental property. Let me repeat that one more time. Only 7% of us Americans own rental property. Now that doesn't mean that people don't own property to live in. I'm talking about rental property. So I put this post out, why our rents are never due on the first of the month. I want people to know that I never collect rent on the first. So I did a short video letting people know. So what I presumed would happen happens at the beginning. So we got Harold Velastan said, I love it. Chris Monroe says, we're gonna peep game. Let's go to the next one. The next person says, the real Caleb M says fire. Kimberly Thomas says, thank you. 12 Jen 27 says, good idea. I'm making changes to my lease agreement based on the content that she just saw. Was that he or she? I don't know. Next comment, Mr. Terry Elliott, thanks for the lesson, big bro. Alan Draco says, good idea. So usually this is the love that I get when I put out posts. So I kept reading the comments as they're coming in, right? This is the same thing. We're gonna flash it up so you can see it. Pamela Whitfield says, greed and poor business practices. This is nothing to brag about. I wasn't really bragging. I was just letting people know how I've stayed in business for so long. Be great too. Slumlord activity. We be 2020. This is why it's hard for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. Good Lord. Next, Midwest men's mid-state. I don't know. So you're trying to get over on people. Essentially, you must be part of the DJ Envy scam. Scam, what are we talking about here? I'm just telling people what day of the month I like to collect rent on. Cheetah God, shady. Probably renting to black people who can hardly afford to pay the rent in the first place. Next, rock bottom life. I don't know why you're proud to do this. If someone is a few days late with rent, why am I proud to do that? Jesus. Pete, nickel and diamond people is real low. Straight drop, you're part of the problem. And on and on and on. I'll put another one up here. Slumlords are a guide to effing people over. Scumlord, B from the Brook. Can't wait to exploit, at least says it, can't wait to exploit people. And on and on and on I could go. Now, I posted the same video, which I usually don't do on my YouTube channel. One guy wished me to go bankrupt in the next year. And another guy put my address, say he hopes he's going to report me to the IRS for my shady practices. Round up family. Is this not crazy? So I'm here to tell you, no matter how much good you do, no matter how much positivity you put out in the universe, no matter how much you hope for people to learn from you and you can share your wisdom with them, you're never going to hit it all. So let's get into today's topic here. I'm sorry I had to do a little digging to frame this up for you, which is the reason why I'm doing this video. So since 2004, I've been doing real estate. I started to be a landlord maybe 2007. I almost went out of business dealing with traditional tenants, them paying rent on the first. Now, let me tell you how I almost went out of business. Okay, so if you have a tenant and they pay, you say that the rent is due on the first, they have something called a grace period, right? So in our state, it's like a 5-day thing. I can't remember exactly what it is. So if they don't pay on the first, you have to the 5th to give them a pay or quit notice, right? The pay or quit notice. So that's 5 days, right? So generally speaking, this is what people do. This is what I was doing. On the first of the month, rent due, you gotta wait 5 days before you can send it out, right? So after the 5th in Virginia, and I know in Indiana, it's 14 days, all right? So on the 14th day in Indiana, you can send out your pay or quit notice. That could be anywhere between 5 to 14 days, all right? So let's rewind. Rent due on the first, you send your 5-day notice out. You send your 5-day notice out. Your 5-day pay or quit. So that means by the 10th, then in Virginia, you can file for possession. Now you got to understand this, y'all. You have to file for possession. That doesn't mean you're going to actually get a court date that date. All right. So follow me along here, y'all. You're going to have to pay a little bit of if you want to manage millions of dollars of real estate and build a real estate empire and a portfolio, you must not only pay attention, focus, but you're going to have to put some time in. All right. I got to work this for you. Good gracious. So rent's due 5th, paid 5th. So by the time I can go down to the courthouse in Virginia, the fastest is going to be on the 10th or 11th. Now, don't forget, they only count business days. The courthouse does not they don't count weekends. So it might be the 11th, 11th or 12th, okay? So if I file for my possession, then the clerk is going to give me a court date, all right? So let's say everything goes smooth. My rents are due on the 1st. I file my pay or quit on the 10th. The clerk gives me a court date to get possession because I want to file for possession to get back my property, all right? Now that court date is generally speaking 30 days out. I've seen some courts backed up 45 to 60 days. All right. So after you file, that doesn't mean you're going to go to court that day. So let's say all goes well and you're 30 days out, right? So you're not going to court until the following month on the 10th, 11th, or 12th. And one thing we have to understand is what is possession? If you don't have your Barron's book, I'm going to put it there in the bio for you. You got to know what possession is. We want to file for possession to get our property back to go inside. So possession is the holding, control, or custody of property for one's use, either as owner or person with another right. It's going to be the tenant. So we don't have possession. You can't go on your property when you lease it out. When you lease your property out, you trade possession, the unobstructable right to come and go. You trade that in exchange for money, all right? So we want to go back and get possession of our property. So the clerk gives us a court date. That court date is the 10th of next month, if all goes well. Now, let's say you go to court, you walk in court, which I have done many times, and you actually win the first time. You win possession of the property. And you can even get immediate possession. That means the judge says, you know what? I believe this is all, they owe you the money. This is done. You have the right to go get your property back. Cool. I won. Woo, right? After you win, there's a 10-day appeal period in Virginia. Now, your state might be different. So you win on the 10th, you're good. So you got 10 days. So that means on the 20th, I got to wait 10 days just before I can file. I can file for the eviction. In Virginia, it's called filing of the writ of possession or the writ of eviction. Now, I want you to follow me now. We've won in court. All right, so we won, which really we didn't win because we got to wait time. You got to wait 10 days to file this eviction paperwork for the sheriff to go let your tenant out. Now, what happens when you go file that paperwork with the sheriff? Just imagine they're sitting at their desk. You come in to file the paperwork. You walk in. They have a stack of evictions way before yours that they have to process. Okay, so they look at you, file it. And before they even get to your writ of possession, your writ of eviction, it's going to take about another 2 weeks. Round up. I hope you're following me. So let's recap where we're at here for all the haters and all the people that think I'm such a slimy landlord, a scumbag, low life, screwing people over. Let's look at this. Your rent due on the 1st. You can file on the 10th. All right. You got to wait 30 days to get a court date. So you get next month of the 10th. Let's say you win. You got to wait 10 days. So already you're 50 days out. This is if everything goes smooth. You're 50 days out from the 1st that you thought the rent was due. And then you have to file the writ of possession to get 2 weeks. So let's say that's another 2 weeks. That's 60 days to get a date. You're going to wait another 2 weeks. After you file this writ of eviction with the sheriff, you're going to wait 2 weeks to get a date for the eviction. So after they call you and they say, the 2 weeks later, they say, well, we've got this date available. That could be a whole nother 2 weeks. So if everything goes well, round up, homies. If all is well, you might get your tenant out in 75 to 90 days. But don't forget, what happens at the 1st of the month for most of us landlords that have a mortgage? We got to make the mortgage payment. So this is why we have our rents due on the 28th. Now, it's not all, let me repeat that. All of our leases, our rents are due on the 28th of the month. And what I'll do for you, I'll give you a free copy of my lease. It's right in the video description, right there below. You can use it for your next tenant, okay? All I ask in exchange is for your email address so I can stay in touch with you. Me and my team can stay in touch with you for any future trainings. I'll give you my lease. So I'm saying this to say our rents are due on the 28th. How does it all work? Now you understand why I do this. Let me show you a little bit about how it breaks down. If our rents are due on the 28th, let's say we give them 5 days to pay, 28th, 29th, 30th, 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. If we do give them 5 days. So we can file before we can do our, we got to start with our pay or quit notice. So if our rents are due on the 28th, but I like to put them late by the 1st, okay? I like my leases are late by the 1st. That's just how we do. All right, so they can possibly charge. They can try to convince me to change it, or they can fight me on that. Never had a tenant do that yet. Okay, so our rents are due on the 28th, late by the 1st. So what we do is we send out our pay or quit notice right around the 2nd or the 3rd. That's still the 5 days after the date is due. All right, I need you to understand this because I don't want you to be like me in 2010. Laying in my bed late at nights, trying to wonder, how am I going to survive in this business? I got tenants not paying. I got tenants paying late. I got tenants telling me they're going to pay, but not really paying. And I'm trusting people will tell you anything. I'm going to pay Friday, or I'm going to pay the 15th. See, when your rent is due on the 28th, late by the 1st, and then you have the option to send out your pay or quit notice sooner. All right, you send the notices out and then you file for possession sooner. Now, just because your rents are due on the 28th, late on the 1st, you have the possibility to mail this stuff out. So when you go to the clerk's office to file for the eviction, they're going to ask you for your pay or quit notice, and the dates have to line up. They just got to line up. They're going to look and say, okay, and then when you go to court, the judge is going to say, what date did you mail this out? When was this due? All that stuff. So you can say, Your Honor, our rents are due on the 28th. We didn't mail out the pay or quit notice until the 2nd or the 3rd. So that still gives you the 5 days, y'all. And it's not like we're being shady. We have to get ahead of the game because our mortgage is due on the 1st. Now, it is late on the 15th. But if you have a tenant that decides, like I have recently, several, that have decided to not pay, we need to get them out quickly. And even if they do pay, let's say all goes well and your tenant was late. Well, you get a late fee and you need to run this stuff whether they pay late or not. You need to have all your dates in line. So if you have to go to court, you still win. Or even if they do pay and then you don't go to court, you need to have this train rolling. I promise you, you don't want to believe people when they say, I'm going to pay you on the 5th. Here's a problem with being a landlord. In my travels and the people that I know and interacting with human beings, most of us can only depend on one or two people, period. I don't know about you, but for me, I got a few people that I can depend on. I can take it to the bank, implicitly trust them with my life and things that I know they're going to do what they say they're going to do. That's just how it is. So the burden for us landlords, we have to trust all these tenants to do what they say they're going to do. Can you imagine the stress and the burden of being a landlord? It is no fun. I have to trust people to do what they say they're going to do and pay the rent so I can live the lifestyle and make my wife happy. I've got a beautiful wife that likes nice things. She likes to travel. She likes cars, all this stuff, house. So for me, I have to depend. If somebody says I'm going to pay on a certain date, then I'm building my life on that. It's challenging to do if people don't do what they say they're going to do, which usually they do not. So our rents, and I can only slightly suggest to you, have your rents due before the 1st of the month, because you don't want to be in that whole bucket of everything. Bam. You got to think about the mindset of a tenant. 1st of the month, what are they thinking about? Car bill, cell phone bill, food, electrical bill, water bill, all these bills, health insurance, car payment, car insurance, all these things roll over on the 1st of the month for that current month. But if you have your rent due on the 28th for the following month, so for example, on February 28th, our rent is due for March. March's rent is due on February 28th. Okay, so you can understand this process. You have to know how to make the system work for you. And I'm not a big fan of this whole capitalist system. People think Chris is greedy, this, that. I'm not even saying that this is a system that I enjoy doing. I don't like making people pay me every month. I would rather them live for free. But unfortunately, I only have two options. I can be either a renter or an owner. And I have decided to be an owner, and thank goodness you have too. So you've sacrificed your dollars, you've went out there and made a down payment, and now you own a piece of rental property, or you're at least changing the vibrations and the frequency in your mind to become a new landlord. Okay, so remember this stuff. Rent's due on the 28th, late by the 1st, mail out your pay or quit notices as fast as possible. Then you can start the process to getting them out of the property so you can get a tenant in that will pay. All right. So real estate roundup, homies, happy new year to you. It is an awesome time. I'm so glad to be able to serve you as we pass 131,000 subs. It's nothing but an honor. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this content, and share. I've got some other videos right here that is going to teach you. Actually, it's my best video. My 20 mistakes of being a landlord is right here somewhere on the left. So watch that now so you can continue your training and coaching and rewiring your mind to stay in business like we have this is our 20th year. Okay. I'll see you on the next video. Peace.